Welcome back, everyone. So as you've been seeing, I've been making some changes to my YouTube channel. Wednesday was Wisdom Wednesday. It became a weekly vlog where I show you some of the insides of my life and some of the things happening, what I'm trying to accomplish. Friday has changed over to Fantasy Friday from Freestyle Friday because it's football season. Why not? And so Monday was the only one that hasn't been changed yet. So I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out what to do with Monday, because Motivation Monday is cool and all, but I wanted to do something different than what other people are doing, because Motivation Mondays is known to be a thing. So I wanted to change mine to Mindful Mondays. And so reason being for Mindful Mondays is I want to dive more into trying to teach you guys about mindsets and other ways of thinking. And so this video is going to be part of a series, a mini 3-part series, because if I try to put everything into it, it's going to be super long and people are honestly going to lose interest. So I'm going to break it up into 3 videos. That way you guys can, take it for face value, look at what is in each of the videos, and it be spaced out so that it's not all at you at one time. So what I'm going to be talking about is 15 presumptions or presuppositions about underlying beliefs and attitudes that we have. And these aren't rules and regulations, but they are simple, beneficial, powerful beliefs that we can use in our everyday life and live by to improve our efficiency and our understanding of each other as human beings. So I want to jump into the first one. The first one is to unconditionally accept people. Now, I know some of you, including myself, have done this before. You take one look at somebody and you're like, I'm staying away from that person. To unconditionally accept someone doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just automatically assume that they're a good person. What it means is to, now this is my opinion on what this belief is that it's to accept them as a human being, not their actions or their beliefs, but as a human being. Now, we can reject their attitude and their habits, but as a person, we should unconditionally accept them because they're just like us as far as being a human being. Now, the hobbies that they like, the attitude they have towards certain things, that's going to be different than yours a lot of the time. And that you can reject, that you can debate and be like, hey, I don't agree with you on that. But as a human being, you should accept them unconditionally. The second one I want to talk about is behavior and change are to be assessed regarding context and ecology. So that one, it took me a little bit to look into that one, mainly because, ecology was a word that I wasn't too familiar with. So, all it's saying is, all meaning is context dependent. It's very easy to take something that's been said out of context and interpret it differently from its original meaning. So it's crucial that we evaluate behavior and change in terms of who our friends or family or whoever we're talking to or around are capable of becoming, and also the impact it will have on the person's life overall. So the ecology of things and the context are very important to take into consideration when assessing behavior or change or anything inside of the context of where it's from. And I know a lot of people sometimes say, oh, I was taken out of context, or they take 2 or 3 sentences in an entire speech that somebody said and try to break it apart and tear that person down. You see this on the media a lot. News channels about the president or a congressman or about a famous person. So it's real easy to take things out of context. So number 3 is often if we experience resistance in a person, this will stem from a lack of rapport or misunderstanding with that person. Because there are no people who are resistant by nature, but rather they only have rigid communicators, or those people are rigid communicators who are unwilling to change. Wise communicators accept and embrace all forms of communication that are presented to them. So an example of this is somebody who's closed-minded versus open-minded is the best analogy I can come up with this. If you look at somebody who's closed-minded, they're very stuck in their beliefs and their opinions, and nothing you say or do will change what they think. On the other hand, open-minded people are more accepting of listening to new ideas, listening to new opinions and beliefs, and taking it and kind of making it their own and kind of trying to understand where that person might be coming from, rather than just saying, oh, you're wrong because you don't believe what I believe. So it's one of those things that, you know, we often look at, and it's critical to make sure you maintain an open mind and don't sit there and just assume that you're always right. If we're not actively maintaining that rapport of keeping an open mind, you know, it'll be less likely to have a positive outcome. So number 4, appreciate others people's interpretation of the world. Now, this one I really like because it's something that I talk about with people, and especially somebody. So I'm going to use a little bit of a story for this one to show why I like this 4th one. And I was asked by somebody who, you know, was like, hey, if you're aspiring to be a life coach, you're fairly young. How could you help somebody who's, let's say, 60 years old? And I looked at them and I said, age is but a number to me. And the way I look at teaching people and learning from people is not about how old you are, you know, what you look like, what ethnicity you are. Rather, it's more of just who you are encompassed as a person. I don't care if you're black or African American or white, or you have a college degree, or that you never went to school, or you were born in a third world country. None of those things matter to me as far as learning from somebody, because no matter who the person is, you can always learn something from an individual. And one of the things that I look at is, you know, we have 7.8 billion people. I think we're up to 8 billion people now on this planet. That means that we have 8 billion perspectives, 8 billion interpretations of the world and our environment and our surroundings. And one of the most crucial things I look at is normalcy. And I may be saying that word, I don't even know if it's a word. But the normal or the norm of your life is nowhere close to the norm of someone else's life. Especially if you're born, let's say you're born in New York City. Your normal is going to be totally different than someone born in Kenya, or someone born in Russia, or someone born in Sweden. Are you starting to get what I'm trying to get at here? The normal or the norm for you is not norm for someone else, and vice versa. So somebody in, let's say, India, for example, where, you know, they look at cows as sacred, whereas you live in New York, you eat a hamburger twice a week. You know, it's a totally different way of living. And so appreciating other people's interpretation of the world is great for learning and growing your mindset, and realizing that what you do may not be right, but may not necessarily be wrong either. It's just your way that you interpret things and look at it. So it's so amazing how people get caught up in not being able to appreciate someone else's interpretation of the world. We all have alternative ways of interpreting and experiencing life, beliefs, values. By understanding and respecting these differences, opposed to jumping to assumptions or judging, better trust can be built among us as human beings. Number 5, this is the last one for this video. I'll go through 6 through 10 in the next one, but number 5 is no one intentionally screws up. All people, all the time, are doing the very best they can with the extent of the resources that they have available. Now, some people may look at somebody else and go, well, they have everything. Of course they're successful. Of course they're a multi-million-dollar company. Of course that they're... But on the other hand, somebody can have all of those resources and not make a multi-million-dollar company, not be successful, not be famous, because the way that they do it may be wrong. Behavior is fluid, not fixed. No one sets out to intentionally mess up or fail. While we may never fully appreciate other people's motives, it is important to assume that a positive intent motivates people. Everyone's behavior, it motivates them. So it's one of those things that, rather than assuming the worst, let's assume the best. And I'm sorry, it's just this one is one that I think about, and it's like, it's so true. Nobody intentionally wants to mess up. Nobody wants to fail. Nobody wants to be laughed at for not succeeding. So sometimes we have to take a step back and realize that that person may not have all the resources. They may not have all the tools. And it doesn't necessarily mean money or cars or cameras or capital or whatever you want to say. Sometimes it could even be up here. They don't have all the resources that they've learned. Maybe they haven't learned how to balance a checkbook. Maybe they haven't learned how to appropriately do video software or whatever. It doesn't have to also be a tangible thing. It can be an intangible thing. Sometimes some people's brains are wired differently. I know I see it firsthand between me and my fiance. Sometimes I look at something and I'm like, oh, this is simple. This is, boom, done. And she looks at the same thing and she goes, what are you talking about? So it's, and I'm not saying that, there's some things that's the other way. She's saying something, I'm looking at it going, I have no clue what you're talking about. It can go both ways. So again, nobody intentionally screws up. It's just, I guess the old expression is you play with the hand you're dealt. And some people would look at that and go, you can actually change the hand you're dealt if you know how to do it. So I think it's pretty funny that, there are those expressions out there that will tell you, oh, there's only one way, it's stuck. But really, life is what you make it. So again, remember that you don't intentionally screw up. Nobody else intentionally wants to screw up. It's just, sometimes they just don't have the proper tools to succeed at that moment. So that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you got something out of it. I'm trying to lean more towards Monday being more of an educational type video, to have you guys look at yourselves and others and maybe really dive in and understand what it is to be human, what it is to do some self-growth and self-awareness and really possibly change your mindset, change the way you think about things. Because once you grow here, it doesn't go back. Once you expand your mind and your knowledge, you don't go back to the way you were thinking before. So I really implore you guys to, watch the next 2 that are coming out. I know it's going to take a week for the next one and 2 weeks for the next one, but I really like these presuppositions. Sorry, my mouth is getting a little dry. I need some water, but I really like these, and I think they can really help a lot of people maybe better understand themselves and others. So I hope you liked it. I hope you, if you got something to say, comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. share it off to a friend who you think may need to hear this. But most importantly, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and God bless.